Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the October 12th, 2021 meeting of the Conservation Commission. This meeting will be, it is remote, and that is pursuant to the Chapter 20 of the Acts of 2021, the emergency order governing during the COVID-19 period. And this is signed by the governor as an emergency order, signed by the governor on June 16th. As always, we invite everyone to speak, but ask that each person identify themselves. We encourage questions and comments, but as a matter of formality, we do ask for that introduction, and we do the same for ourselves. And I'd ask each Conservation Commission member to identify themselves and welcome the public. My name is John Kiernan.
Todd Hamilton.
Steve Ibis, Conservation Agent.
Arthur, can you introduce yourself? I'm just looking at Doyle. Thank you.
Member.
Ingrid.
Ingrid Beatty, Commissioner.
Right. Jerry.
Jerry Burke, Commissioner.
Thank you. And I'm looking for anyone else, and I see no one else in front of me, but we have a quorum, so we're ready to proceed. First on the agenda is informational. This is 170 Center Street, which is Milton Academy, and that is a status report. And I believe that Brandon Fagan is here, among others, to make a presentation.
I am. Hello, Jim. Hello, folks.
Hey, welcome.
Just a preface to this, I'm Brandon Fagan, LSB record for Milton Academy and the Milton Operation and Maintenance Support to the O'Hare Pond Remediation Project. The purpose of this meeting is is twofold. It's informational, but it's also in following with changes to the MCP. We've had changes in the MCP such that we do not require reporting under the MCP under a biannual basis. We just filed a 5-year LSP opinion. In the 5-year LSP opinion, we noted that conditions are status quo to this property. We've identified that we don't have significant risk to the groundwater, which is meeting a GW1 standard currently, which is effectively the more conservative standard of groundwater. We're also, we've also mitigated the remedial source area down to a small quantity in an area that's concentrated that we'll continue to monitor. But because we don't require under the MCP continuous monitoring, with respect to preparing biannual reports, we're only required to provide a 5-year LSP opinion report. We copied you in the LSP, the 5-year report, which is due this year. The last one was in 2016. The opinion report summarizes that. What we'd like to propose in place of these reports, because we're not going to continue to provide them as a response to the MCP, we are going to, however, would like to supplement them with a letter to the Conservation Commission annually, just as a matter of good, as good faith and due diligence with the Conservation Commission. We also would like to discontinue this meeting because we'll respond to any questions related to the letter on an annual basis. But we continue to take up your time annually without, significant change. But that doesn't mitigate our responsibility to monitor, which we will continue to do on a quarterly basis in accordance with the post-RAO conditions. So that being said, if you have any questions, that was the proposed plan. If there's any other alternatives or things you would think of that you'd like to do, let me know.
No, I think that makes eminently good sense. And for the public's benefit, I can attest personally that this is my 29th year meeting with Brandon Fagan, although this one is done remotely. And on each year he's reported. I don't think we've had even a sheen show up in probably close to 15 years. And Milton Academy has been dutiful in reporting. There's really nothing to report, but if we did get at least a letter heads up, and then we could ask any particular questions that we have, because I think it's just, at some point it has to stop.
Right.
And this being we're coming into the 30th year in 2022 that I've been listening to your reports, and each one has been accurate, apparently scientifically reliable, and open and direct in terms of the efforts made to remediate and the efforts made to monitor the cleanliness of the site. And I haven't seen any changes in the last 15 years, but I would invite any other comments first from commissioners and then certainly from the public to that extent. But the idea would be to get an annual letter, which would open us up to asking any kind of questions for Milton Academy, and they could respond. And particularly those questions, we know what they would be, but we presume that we'd find that in the letter anyway, but it would relate to whether or not any of the, I don't know, half dozen monitoring wells had indicated any product, or if there was any sheen on the O'Hare Pond indicating any kind of a seepage. And lastly, I know my question is always annually whether or not the detention pond at the, I call it the corner, one end of O'Hare Pond has been dutifully cleaned according to the O&M plan, which it always has been.
So the maintenance, John, the maintenance would remain in place. The quarterly monitoring will remain in place. In the 5-year reporting report would be generated, which would also always be committed and submitted to the Conservation Commission. So this is really more of a clerical change in process than it is actual, changes in monitoring and response to the site.
Thank you, Brandon. Are there any questions that commissioners have or suggestions as to whether or not we should change the protocol? I hear none. Are there members of the public that wish to be heard or ask a question or make a suggestion? All right, then I think that we could, I hear none, so that I would propose that we submit a motion to change the protocol as suggested by Mr. Fagan, and that would be to continue the monitoring as it has been for the last 29 years, or longer than that now, and to submit the 5-year plan and with an annual letter updating the Conservation Commission and giving us an opportunity, and that would be on a once-a-year basis. Is there such a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Ingrid. Is there a second to that motion? Todd, I see your hand. Thank you very much. Is there any discussion from members of the commission? And seeing none, I'd call for a vote. And I think, pursuant to the remote meeting protocol under the COVID-19 emergency order by the governor, I'd ask for a roll call vote on this. And I want to make sure I've got everybody here in attendance. So Ingrid, how do you vote, yay or nay?
Yes.
Jerry Burke, how do you vote?
Abstained.
Abstain. Todd Hamilton, how do you vote, sir?
Yes, I'm in favor.
Arthur Doyle, how do you vote, sir?
Yes.
And speaking for myself, John Kiernan, I vote yes as well. So with one abstention, it's and I don't think Wendy is on this evening, and I don't think Hans is on. Am I correct? Yes, I am. So the vote carries, and we will change the protocol. We expect a letter once a year. The monitoring will continue as it has been in the past. The O&M plan will be adhered to, and we expect a 5-year plan report.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Brandon. I appreciate your attendance.
Have a great night, folks.
I'm gonna miss you after 30 years.
Take care, John. Thanks, folks.
Night, Brandon.
All right, second on the agenda is determination of applicability at 50 Russellwood Road. And do we have a presenter for 50 Russellwood Road?
Hello, my name is Amy Hartford. I live at 50 Russellwood Road.
Hey, good evening and welcome.
Thank you.
Can you describe both for the commission members and for members of the public what your proposal is?
We are proposing to build a 10 by 14 deck over an existing patio, stone patio.
All right, do you have plans for this construction project? I understand the concept, but do you actually have a contractor with, or a
Yes,
draftsman or an architect to assist you?
yes, all of that.
All right, I don't see that. I see your request for determination of applicability, and I see the plot plan for your property. And you back, again, for the public's benefit, I think most of us know Russellwood backs up to Pine Tree Brook, but some folks may not understand that. So am I correct that your backyard goes right up to the Pine Tree Brook, correct?
That's correct.
All right. Am I also correct that your property line stops short of the what I call an armored bank? It's a concrete or stone bank to Pine Tree at that point. Is that correct?
I think our property line actually extends over the brook to the other side, but there was a house that was built recently on that other side, so I'm not sure.
Okay, that I actually thought that because my memory was clear that your property. Who owned the property before you were there? Was it the Shute family? Do you know?
I can't remember their name.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Because I'm looking at the plot plan and the property line seems to stop short of the brook, and yet my memory was that 50 extended over the brook.
Correct.
And we used to call it 0 Central Ave before it had an address. I don't know what it is now. It's around 332 or something like that. But I know the house you're talking about.
Yes.
All right. So it's clearly within our jurisdiction. And typically, we ask for those plans. But I understand that this is an RDA. And I think the significance, an RDA for the public's benefit is a request for determination of applicability. It's clearly within our jurisdiction, but the question to us is, would it have any adverse, or could it have any adverse impact upon the resources which we protect? And sometimes we issue a negative determination, meaning you do not have to file a notice of intent, but we impose conditions on that. So one of the conditions would be addressed to what kind of disturbance do you anticipate, or does your builder anticipate? And what I'm talking about when I say disturbance, I know you're going down on the same footprint with the patio, but are you digging the holes for sonotubes? Is there going to be any, disturbance of the soil? Because if so, we'd want to make sure that we had erosion control so that nothing went into the brook. How do you intend to put this? What's the deck going to be on?
Concrete footings.
Sonotubes.
Well, concrete footings and sonotubes are two different things, aren't they?
Pretty much the same thing, John. I mean, a footing is going to go in the ground.
Right, but a footing means you're going to be excavating a sonotube.
Well, same as a sonotube. You got to dig down to put it in.
No, that's understood, but you could do a sonotube with an auger. You need a backhoe of some kind, I should think, for a footing, and a footing's going to be a lot wider than a sonotube.
Well, if they're doing a footing, they come precast, John. You can hand dig them. Just like a sonotube.
Do you know how, Amy, do you know how deep into the earth the sonotube is going to go, or the footing as you described it?
I don't know, but can you tell me what the word is that you just said, Mr. Hamilton? Tell me what you said.
A footing or a sonotube, how deep it's going to go in the ground.
Okay. That I don't know.
All right, I don't want to slow your project down because it sounds like it's something that is doable because you're not changing the footprint. And you said it's a stone patio, so it's already impervious.
Correct.
Not increasing the impervious surface, which is what's important to us. So I don't see a problem, but with the project. But I do think that we should have an actual plan that shows what kind of foundation is going in. I know it's not a full foundation, but whether it's a sonotube or a footing is going to make a construction difference. And we want to make sure that we have the right erosion controls in place.
Well, if they put a sock around it, John, and staked it in the ground around the existing perimeter, if they're not going any further.
Oh, I agree 100%. And I hate to sound like I'm putting form over substance here, but we don't have a plan.
Okay,
If we're approving something or giving a negative determination with conditions, we should have a plan to refer to support it. So, Amy, if I can put this back in your corner, do you know how long it would take us to, or you to get a plan to give to us?
A day or two?
All right, do you have a contractor already retained to do this?
Yeah, yes, yes.
And do you have a starting date or a date you'd like to start it by?
I guess well, I don't know. I don't know if, I don't know, actually.
All right, well, I'm assuming you'd want to get it in before the cold weather or start it in the spring. If you're going to start it in the spring anyway, the time is not going to be as significant to you. I'm trying to do that so that it doesn't impact your construction schedule. Because I don't see a problem with the.
We're starting with some of the project next week. So I assume that Paul wanted to have it started before the ground froze, but which is why I was trying to have it before the October meeting.
Well, are you putting up the deck over the stone patio without removing the stone patio, or are you trying to take that out?
We're trying to put it over the patio.
All right, so you're not going to be digging up the stone, is that correct?
I don't believe so, but I can't confirm that until I talk to him.
hey, John, what
Yeah.
if Steve and I took a ride over there? Would that help?
To be honest, I don't think so, because I know the
Okay.
property. I think most of us have been there. And
I was
don't
there
think it's an
last week.
issue.
Okay, you were there, Steve?
Yes, I was. Yeah. And yeah, there's a stone patio, and there's the brook, there's a row of hemlock trees, there's one big Norway tree maple in the back, and there's a shed in the back. Pretty standard for Russellwood Road. It's a standard backyard. I don't see an issue, but it would be nice to know what the footings are going to be consisting of, because then we would know whether we need some mulch stock or something in the back. I would agree with that, Todd.
Yeah, what I was thinking, Steve, if we could meet them out there, maybe they could see what they're gonna do, then we'd know what they need.
Sure.
That's all I was thinking, John, to try and keep the thing going, but yet make sure we keep control of what should be done.
Understood. I'm just trying to figure out if there's going to be some destruction of the stone patio. I don't know how you'd get a sonotube through a stone patio.
You can't. You
You
can't.
can't, right. There's got to be some alteration there, and that's what I'm concerned with.
Yeah, that's why I was suggesting to go out and actually meet them there, or the guy that's going to do the deck, and let him explain to us what he's going to do.
Yeah, there's one other method that I've seen, something called a Bigfoot. Todd, are you familiar?
Yeah, yeah,
Sometimes the people just sit those big feet right on the ground.
yeah.
Seen them sit right on the top of the ground.
Yeah, I couldn't picture them having a 3-foot base or 2.5-foot base sitting there holding the deck up, but maybe they are.
It's possible. I've seen it before,
Yeah, I couldn't understand Joe Prondak letting that go, holding it up, because by code it has to be 36 inches to 42 inches in the ground.
That's exactly correct. Good point.
So, I don't see the building inspector issuing a permit without some way of it being below frost.
Right. I agree. Yeah.
All right. Well, again, I don't want to put form over substance, because I think it's doable, but I sure would like to have a plan. And the only way around it that I can think of is that, Amy, if you could get us a plan quickly, we could have, I don't know if we've got other issues that would end up in a site walk, but we could put this on for a site walk as early as, well, I can't make it this Saturday, but I could make it the following Saturday. And maybe if we had a quorum, it could be done this Saturday. But I really think we have to have some understanding from a technical point of view of how the footings are going to be put into the ground. And then as Todd has suggested, I think it's easy enough to put a silt sock around it to prevent any kind of erosion.
Amy, let me ask you a question. Do you know if the guy that's doing the deck, is he submitted for a building permit?
Yes, I have the permit already.
Well, to get the permit, you had to give a plan to the building inspector.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, well, this might help us help you.
Right.
On the plan, it might show whether it's a sonotube or not holding up the deck.
Do you have that available, Amy?
Let me see.
We're trying to find a way to keep you going.
I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this. Do you think you have it somewhere in your file?
Well, John, she has to have a plan because you can't get a permit without a plan.
Right. But does she have it available is what I was asking, because if she could screen share it, we could move this along. We could move on to another item, give you a chance to find it, Amy, and then perhaps screen share. I don't know if you have the capability of screen sharing.
I do, only if I'm I do, yes.
You can be invited. I think, Sean, you're still with us somewhere, I think.
Yes, he is, hopefully.
Okay.
Of course.
Yep, good.
All right. So do you need some time? We can move on to another item and then come back to you, Amy.
That sounds great. Yes, please.
Okay. All right. Let's do that. You search for that, and then as soon as you find it, then I think Sean might be able to assist you and invite you in for screen share. That would be very helpful to us.
Okay, great.
All right. Thanks. All right. So we'll temporarily suspend with that and move on to the next item, which is 339 Hillside Street.
Good evening. This is Nicholas Ling from Grady Consulting on behalf of the Deans.
Hi, good evening. Good evening. Can you make a presentation as to, just so that the public knows, because the Conservation Commission members know from reading the submission, but the public doesn't. So if you could give a brief description of what you're trying to do would be helpful.
Of course. So Mr. Dean has a water service that currently runs through his abutter's property. Mr. Greenberg, I believe, is the abutter next door. And he's looking to alleviate his abutter of the burden of that water service cutting through that property and connect to the newly installed water line that goes down, essentially down Mr. Dean's driveway. Am I to understand, Steve Ives, did you get that wetland summary form from John today?
Yes, I sure did. No,
Awesome.
actually, I did not get a wetland summary form from John. No, I did not.
Oh, okay. Well, he did
got-
flag that and supply us with a summary form. I can forward that to you in just a moment here as well. The wetlands seem to be essentially in the same location based on the summary form, and I wasn't sure if you needed anything further from us to get Mr. Dean moving along here.
Well, we needed a letter in which we got from his neighbor, allowing him to connect into the 8-inch water main.
Fantastic. Do you just need to perform a site walk, I suppose, then to review those flag locations before letting Mr. Dean move on here?
Yes, as far as I'm concerned.
Yes, indeed. I think the problem, for the public's benefit and maybe the other commission members, this is an area that we've been to on several occasions in the past. We've certainly been to Mr. Dean's house on a number of occasions. The problem that we had, I think one of the delineations was 2010 or 12, and the second delineation was 2017. So it's out of date. We need a delineation within a 3-year period under the performance standards by the DEP. And that has been done. Steve and I talked about that earlier. It's John Zimmer, correct?
Yes.
Was able to actually flag it, and that's really what we need. So that a site walk would be appropriate. So I'm not available this Saturday, but I would be the following Saturday. Can anybody else do the following Saturday?
The 23rd, John?
Yes.
Yes,
It should be.
I am available, John.
Okay.
I'm available
Arthur?
also.
Say again, Ingrid?
I'm also available.
I'm out of state.
Okay, Jerry?
I can be available.
Okay. And Todd, no. Arthur, are you available then?
Yes.
Okay. I'm just counting. We don't know about Wendy. And if need be, if everybody can make it this Saturday and I'm not in attendance, you could move forward without me.
I can't make it this Saturday.
Okay.
Neither
So
can I.
let's, okay. So then let's make it for the 23rd for site walk. If there's any difficulty getting a quorum, we'll give you a heads up, but I do not believe that that's going to be an issue. And then we could look at the lines, confirm the lines, and then move forward. It sounds like a no-brainer to me. As long as the new lines don't show that you're actually going through the wetlands. As I understand, looking at the plans, you're going around them at this juncture. Is that correct?
That is correct. The plan is just to dig a trench right down where his existing driveway is. He has a little bridge going over the wetlands.
Understood. What do you do with the bridge? I mean, can you run a pipe underneath the bridge or?
It's my understanding that it wouldn't have to go underneath the bridge or anything like that. It looks like there's plenty of material there for them to just lay it across the bridge just as his gas line currently goes.
Fair enough. Okay. And for the public's benefit, we've done this before because when the house was significantly renovated, we were there and we've been there on several occasions over the years. All right, well, with the assent of unless there are other questions that maybe we should ask for commissioners first and then abutters or members of the public. Any questions from commissioners? Hearing none, are there any abutters or members of the public that would like to be heard? Hearing none, we'll continue this with the assent of the applicant until October 23rd at, what do we say, 8:30?
Yes,
Okay.
at least 8:30, John.
Okay, all right, fair enough.
Thank you.
23rd at 8:30 a.m. and we'll meet you on site at the house. Okay? Is that acceptable, Mr. Dean?
Yes, thank you.
Perfect. All right, thank you very much.
All right,
Do you need Grady Consulting to send somebody up there for that, or would you be able to handle that just with Mr. Dean there? As you said, you've visited the site many times over the couple of years.
Yeah, I don't think Grady Consulting needs, if they want to be there. I mean, that's really it may be an economic issue with Mr. Dean and them, but I don't think we need them.
no,
I would agree, John, and we should tell Mr. Dean that you can actually close the meeting and issue orders the same day. So you'll have your paperwork very soon after that.
Great, thank you.
Certainly.
All right, good. All right, thank you very much. We'll see you on the 23rd of October.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. Okay, next on the agenda is request for certificate of compliance at 1062 Hillside Street. And on this one, for members of the commission and members of the public, when an applicant who had previously filed a notice of intent and the commission had issued an order of conditions, we tend to use our magic words, but notice of intent is actually the application for a permit and an order of conditions is actually the permit. After it's been completed, the applicant will often ask for and should ask for a certificate of compliance, and that's what's being done here. However, as a matter of protocol, we always ask for the subject engineer to issue a letter to us that says, in effect, that in the professional opinion of the engineer, that the project has been completed in substantial compliance with the order of conditions. If the commission members look in their packet, we did not receive that. So Steve and I spoke, and I think Steve, you did reach out for the engineer, and I think we now have. Do we now have that letter?
Yes, we do, John.
All right. All right. Good. Who wants to walk us through this one?
And can you see that on the screen, Dave?
Yes, I can.
Great. Is that helpful?
Yeah, that is helpful. This is the ASBIL. My name's Dave Clennert from Collins Civil Engineering Group, and I'm here to represent Maurice Gannon for the request for request for compliance.
Yeah.
Certificate of compliance. So George wrote a letter today, and he mentioned that if you look at the infiltration trench at the end of the driveway, the only thing that's missing is a short section, maybe about 10 feet, that go up the driveway. And George had written in his letter that it was so close to the property line after the driveway was in, and the abutter did not wish that to have a stone trench there. I walked out there today. It's very dry. Everything is infiltrating nicely. There's no ponding or puddling out there. There's not much erosion. If any, there's just, in fact, I have pictures of going out there and taking a look at the site today. I can share those pictures with you if you'd like me to. And the siltation fence has been completely removed and it's clean and the grass is growing out there. The client does want to, this house is up for sale and he would like, I think he's looking to close this month if he can. And that would be up to the determination of the conservation, of course, to give the certificate. If we're required to do anything, maybe what I would request is a partial certificate at worst so that he could close. But I think that the site, and George's opinion is that the site has been constructed in substantial compliance with the design degree.
All right, can you describe the difference? If there is any kind of deviation from the plan, the commission members and the public needs to know what the difference is. And I appreciate George writing the letter saying substantial compliance, but could you just describe for us what the deviation is?
There's a trench at the end of the driveway. That trench is in, and there's no ponding or puddling. You don't see it visibly. There's some organics that grew in there, but it is there. It's stone, and it does not puddle. The only difference is that there's a little 10-foot or 15-foot trench that was supposed to go up the side of the driveway. That's the only difference. Everything else was constructed as approved.
And John, I was out there last week and it looks great. Site looks very, very good. Everything's stable. The sewer line that goes all the way back to the other sewer line. There's another sewer line that actually goes in a direction toward Houghton's Pond and then across the brook down toward the new pump station. Okay, so it meets that sewer line coming from the south, probably southeast. Is that correct, Dave?
Yes. Yeah.
So the flow is in this direction, if you see it on the screen, and this is where it joins right here. And this entire area where the line was placed looks excellent. It's all stabilized.
It's been low and seeded, and all the silt fence with any silt or runoff has been cleared off. It's clean grass right up to the woods.
Yes, it looks very good.
Okay. Those are my questions, and I did have an opportunity to look at the plan and noted the deviation. So I think that both Dave and George Collins have responded to my concerns. Are there other questions or concerns that commission members have? Hearing none, are there any abutters or members of the public that wish to be heard, ask a question, or make a point? All right, with that, unless anybody thinks that we need to see it, I'm satisfied with the explanation given tonight and the fact that Steve Ivis has been there, seen it, and has.
Hey, John.
Yes, Todd.
I've been there too. I was there last week.
All right, and you agree that it's appropriately constructed in
yes. Yes.
All right. Well, hearing no comments or questions from abutters, is there a motion to issue the certificate of compliance?
So moved, John, Mr. Chairman.
All right, thank you, Arthur. Is there a second?
Second.
Thanks, Todd. And Jerry, I heard you as well. I'm going to take a vote on this, and again, to stay in compliance with the open meeting law, because we are remote, I'm going to ask for a roll call vote. So I go to Ingrid. How do you vote?
Yes, in favor.
All right. Jerry, how do you vote?
Yes.
Arthur Doyle,
Yes.
Todd,
Yes.
and I vote yes as well. John Kiernan. That's unanimous. So the certificate will issue. Dave, thank you very much. And
Okay, thank you.
send our thanks to George as well.
I sure will. Thank you.
All right, thanks. Next on the agenda is,
Amy has her hand up. She might have something
okay.
for us.
All right, good.
Hi, thank you. I do have the plan that I can screen share.
All right, great, thanks. Now, can you do it by yourself, or do you need the help of Sean Doyle?
No, I'm okay. Thank you.
Okay.
I'm a teacher, so we have
Okay.
lots of practice screen sharing. these days.
All right.
Sorry to hear that.
Okay. Can you see what I see?
Yes, we do see the plan. Is this what was submitted to the building department?
Yes.
So where I'm,
Diamond
just
footing.
read the details.
So Todd, what's a diamond footing? I don't know what that is.
A diamond footing is going to sit on top.
Interesting.
Of the patio.
Yeah. How high off the ground is this patio? I mean, the deck going to be from the ground?
It'll match this right
See,
here.
I'm only getting half the screen, so I can't see the whole thing.
Oh, I see. What can I do to
Yeah,
make that
that's
better?
helped. That helped.
Okay.
All right, so it's going to match. Can you point to where it's going to match?
The slider is right here, so it will match this existing slab.
Okay. So really, you don't have much of, what do you have? One step coming out? Coming out of the slider?
No, it's tall. Let me see. How do I
It
figure
doesn't
out how
show
tall?
us here. It doesn't show here how many steps.
There are
three,
4 steps.
4 steps. Yep.
All right, so it's like 36 inches.
Yep.
So it's not too much.
No.
Joe might be allowing it to do that, John. Can you move the
What, to
plan?
place essentially the footing on top of the stone patio?
Yeah, the diamond shaped ones, he might allow it.
There we go. Isn't that interesting?
Can you move the plan up some? Okay. So you're going to walk out of the slider onto the patio, and that's where the table is right now. Correct?
No,
No?
What table?
here's
You
the
lost
deck
me on
here.
the
Is that what
table.
you mean?
Yeah, okay. So you're walking out into the deck right there.
Correct.
It's 1, 2, 3, 4 steps, right?
Yep.
So it's 36 inches.
Probably, yeah.
Plus 1 step out of the house makes maybe 40 inches. All right. And you have the permit for this?
Yes.
So the deck is going out from the house. There's not a dimension going out. There's a dimension in length, but I don't see a dimension of out.
Is it the 14 by 6 by 10?
Oh, that's how he's doing it. Okay, so it's 10 out, 14, 6 long.
Right. That's what I get.
So right by the stairs where it says 24-8, that's the overall length of the back of the house. There's got to be a sonotube there and one in the other corner. There has to be. Or one of the diamonds that's sitting on. That's one of those big ones, Steve, that you were talking about. That's about 2.5 to 3 feet in the bottom.
Yep. That's called, one of the common names is, trade names is Bigfoot.
Yeah.
Right.
I just can't picture Joe leaving it above ground. I'm kind of puzzled by that. I've never seen it left above grade.
Yeah.
Well, what, if you, can you scroll that down?
down.
So we can see the top again?
Yeah.
It says slab on
Yeah.
grade 8 inches below elevation of existing kitchen floor. What is that 8-inch difference? Where is that?
That's way over here by the table, John.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
the existing sun porch.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm sorry, you said the table, and I don't see your
Oh, sorry.
cursor.
Right there.
Oh, okay.
Exactly. Yep.
Okay.
Diamond
And-
footing 5 feet on center, Todd.
I know.
That's what they're doing. Interesting.
Yeah, because usually on a 14-foot deck, you'd only need one at each end.
Right.
If you brought it in a foot each, you'd make a state code. You wouldn't need more than 2.
Mm-hmm. But if these are going to work, 5 feet on center, that's pretty close. Pretty
Yeah.
tight. Yeah.
He's going to have 3 of them there, basically, one in the middle and one at each end.
Exactly.
All right. Amy, on the top right-hand side of the top corner, where it says existing, no work, 8 feet 4 inches by 6 feet 1 inch. What is that?
That's an existing shed that comes off the back of the garage.
Okay. Understood. All right. So given this, I don't know what the distance is to the brook from there. And it's, if I look back at your map here, I can guess.
It's
No, I can't, because I can't tell where the brook is.
Steve, someone's trying to get into the meeting.
What's that?
oh, thank you. Thank you, Jerry. Admit her. Yep. That's
I'm
Wendy.
sorry, who was trying to get in?
Wendy.
Oh, good. All right, thanks. I'm just trying to figure out if we have some erosion controls during the construction.
Hey, John,
Yes.
I think there should be a sock put around this whole thing staked. And if there's going to be any digging by him, we should be notified.
Okay, understood. And I agree with that, because that's, I'm puzzled by it that nothing's going below ground to support the deck, but that's the building department's purview, and I'm not going to weigh in on that. I don't appreciate the engineering issues there, but if it can be done and it's permitted, then it's actually better for us because there's no alteration above the stone patio or below the stone patio. Arthur?
Steve, you mentioned, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Steve, you mentioned that you had been out there.
Oh, yes, sir.
The patio is this a thick concrete patio that's on any type of footing involving a footing itself?
It was hard to tell. I only saw the top.
I'm sorry?
It was hard to tell. I only saw the top. Maybe Amy can help us.
I don't know. It's
Okay.
it's like fieldstone on top.
Right.
That's-
I wouldn't think there's a cement slab under it. I wouldn't think so.
No, neither would I. There'd be no reason to build it like that.
No,
Just the fieldstone,
right.
But doesn't that make the permitting of a Bigfoot above ground support structure all the more odd?
John, the whole thing is puzzling me.
Yes.
That's why I just said what I said. If there's going to be any digging, we need to be notified.
Sure. That makes sense. That's an easy condition to require.
Right. And there should be a sock put around the whole thing, no matter what they do.
I would agree with that, John.
Okay. All right. Now, do you understand what we're saying, Amy? I mean, the concept is fine because it's already impervious. So you're just going up over it. We get that. We just, if there's any alteration, we need to be notified right away because that would change our position.
Correct.
It wouldn't stop the project, but I mean, it would change our position in terms of our jurisdiction and alteration within our jurisdiction. So are there other questions that commission members have? Are there questions that abutters or members of the public have? All right, well, it sounds like there's a consensus developing that we could issue a negative determination, but there are going to be some conditions that go along with that, Amy, and that would be, one, we have regular conditions that you can't have equipment that is, gas or diesel powered or that use hydraulic hoses that are stored overnight or refueled within our jurisdiction. So that would have to be done elsewhere. You can, the contractors obviously have to use some of that to put it in place, but they just can't store it there overnight. And you can't refuel, they can't refuel that. So that's one of our regular conditions. In this case, you would have to have your contractor notify us, and it would be Steve Ivis who would have to be notified immediately if he believes that there's going to be any digging involved.
Can you tell me the last name of that person, Steve? What's his last name?
He's right. You can see him right there, Steve.
Oh,
Yeah, I'll wait.
thank you, Steve.
John, one way to make it much more efficient is to have a short pre-construction meeting. We'll do that.
Yes.
Okay?
That makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
And that would be up to your contractor, Amy, to touch base with Steve Ivis. We're missing our usual connection because everybody knows Kathy Bowman at DPW, and she's the usual connection, but Kathy's been out for a bit. So you're gonna have to go directly to Steve. Is the best way to contact you, Steve, is what?
Amy, if you take down a phone number,
I'm ready.
781
Yes.
659
Yep.
1690. That's an office phone number. Okay.
Okay. Could you spell your last name? It says Zoom.
I, V as in Victor, AS.
Perfect.
Anagram of Avis and Visa.
Thank you.
Hey, John?
All right, yes, and we're still going with the conditions, Todd, because I know you were talking about the
Well, I just want to make sure she understands a pre-construction meeting means before anybody starts anything, so she doesn't get herself in trouble.
Right.
Okay, I don't want to see anybody get in trouble if they don't understand it.
Just to clarify, thank you. Does that mean construction only on the deck or for other things as well?
Well, anything but behind the outside of that house that has to do with moving dirt.
Now you're scaring us. Now you're scaring us, Amy. What
So like
else are you doing?
if we're working on a bathroom inside.
No.
That doesn't, that's all. Thank you.
Okay.
That's why I brought this up, so they didn't get themselves in that situation.
Very good. Thank you, Todd.
So there's no McDonald's drive-through going through your backyard? All right, fair enough. And then, Todd, do you want to, specify the erosion controls that you think are appropriate?
A sock is fine, John, and as long as it's staked in place on the perimeter of the outside of the deck where it's going.
All right. And do you understand that, Amy?
Yes.
All right,
And so
fair enough.
I'll call to arrange a meeting with my contractor and the committee.
Steve Ivis.
Okay.
Steve, just with Steve, yeah.
Perfect.
Sure.
Thank you.
All right. Well, with those conditions, are people comfortable with a motion to issue a negative determination with those special conditions?
So moved.
Aye.
Thanks, Jerry. Todd, do you second that motion?
Yes.
All right, and again, in conformance with the emergency order, we'll have a roll call vote. And so I go first to Ingrid. How do you vote?
Yes.
Jerry Burke, how do you vote?
Yes.
Todd, how do you vote?
Yes.
Arthur Doyle, how do you vote?
Yes.
Wendy, how do you vote?
I don't think I can vote since I came in halfway through the presentation.
Okay, so you can abstain. And I vote yes
abstain.
as well, John Kiernan. All right, so Amy, I think you're set to go.
Thank you.
All right, just make sure your contractor stays in close touch with Steve, all right?
Absolutely.
Perfect. Thank you very much for your patience with us.
Thank you. Thanks
All
for your
right,
help.
good evening. Good evening. Next on the agenda is 646 Canton Avenue. And there are actually two of them. There are two requests for a certificate of compliance. One for the support court and one for the sewer line connection. Which is pretty scary, by the way, because I see that I signed both of them, one in 1996 and one in 2010. I'm scaring myself. All right, do we have a presenter?
Yes, you do. Hopefully you can hear me. Terry McGovern from Stenbeck and Taylor. And I actually have two plans. Steve beat me to it.
Here you go, Terry.
Okay, so the first one, which you're correct, it's dates back to the prior owners in 1996, had basically contracted with the housing complex next door to run a sewer trunk line, an 8-inch PVC sewer down, and abandon their in-ground septic system. We went out there a couple of weeks ago, ran a profile through it, shot all the rims, popped all the covers, and got all of the inverts. The sewer is functioning. There is water flowing downhill. And we did enclose some pictures, which I could share. I think there's a couple we sent in the packet that basically shows that the area has completely revegetated. It kind of nips the 100-foot buffer zone in a couple of locations where Steve is coming to, where it makes that last turn out to the roadway area or out into the lawn area is where it comes the closest. But the entire area has revegetated. The manholes are intact. There's nothing there that indicates that any disturbance ever reached the wetlands. 25 years worth. You've actually got some scrub growth in a few places, but you know, the area has revegetated. It's settled. There's nothing out there that would present a problem at this time, and no reason that that order couldn't be closed out. But now you do have an actual as-built with the actual survey locations and again, rim and invert elevations on file.
All right, I understand what you said and I appreciate it. And I also appreciate the letter that you sent dated October 1st that says that you're certifying that the work was completed according to the approved plans and order of conditions, and an as-built plan is attached along with this request. Are there any questions from commissioners as to whether or not this is an appropriate project attestation for approval of a certificate of compliance? Hearing none from commissioners, are there any abutters or members of the public that have a question or wish to make a comment? Hearing none, I'd entertain a motion to issue a certificate of compliance for the sewer line that was constructed pursuant to the order of conditions from 1996.
So moved in favor of our NHL hockey player, Keith Yandel.
Second.
All right. Thank you, Jerry. Seconded by Arthur. Is there any discussion from commissioner members? Hearing none, I'll take a roll call vote in accordance with the special open meeting law that allows us to do this remotely. So Ingrid, how do you vote?
Yes, in favor.
Jerry Burke, how do you vote?
Yes.
Todd, how do you vote?
Yes.
Arthur, how do you vote?
Yes.
Wendy?
Yes.
And I vote yes, John Kiernan. So that's unanimous. So that certificate of compliance will issue. Terry, can you go on to the next request for a certificate of compliance?
Steve, I'll let you pull that one up unless you want me to share. Okay.
Right there. How's that?
Awesome. Thank you.
Certainly.
Okay. This orders of conditions was actually what tripped us on to the previous one, because the Andals have now moved and are living in the Philadelphia area. And this is the one we're more familiar with, having permitted the sport court and the deck that's at the corner of the house back in 2011, 2012. And at the time we had, about this time in 2012, I think early fall, we had submitted a request for a certificate of compliance after the sport court was installed and the initial round of plantings were set, and some time had passed. And we were advised by the commission at that time to wait 2 full growing seasons. So we parked it, advised the Andals because they're there and they're not there. Again, Mr. Andal being a professional hockey player, he's pretty much played over most of the country except Boston. And in that period of time, he was in Arizona and then went to Florida. So they didn't touch back with us. We lost track of it in the intervening couple of years with hundreds of other jobs. And when they were preparing for their closing, they remembered that they had not filed at the time. So we went back up, re-verified the conditions, took some additional pictures, and up in the corner of our as-built, we actually noted what we had shown as being planted and in place and thriving the first time. We put 2 columns in. We put a 2012 column of plantings and then a present day column. And the one species that doesn't seem to have survived the intervening years is the high bush blueberry. Seem to be a couple of others that we either can't find or maybe have died off. But the area around it seems to have revegetated pretty thickly and pretty heavily. I've been up on the site. I know Steve's been up there. I don't know anybody else, if anybody else has, but the natural vegetation around it has grown in. The one difference that we noted in our letter is that and was noted in 2012 was that sport court was actually set a foot lower than proposed. So it actually fits the natural contours out there a little bit better too. I'll let Steve comment on what he saw or anybody else, but that was our take on it. The area of the deck is fine. That whole area is vegetated lawn. It's stable. There's no erosion taking place anywhere around this. And you can see up in the corner, these are the column of red numbers is what we see out there presently. And apart from the high bush blueberry, it looks like we're missing a couple of red winterberries, maybe 1 or 2 others that either we can't find or they've died off. So I'll let Steve comment on that.
So what we're missing is about 14 shrubs, no trees really. I don't call river birch a tree. So we're missing about 14 shrubs. Everything else was growing very, very well, as Terry noted. Things are growing in very well around it. Around the court is quite well stabilized. And I agree with Terry that the court at that elevation is the proper elevation because it's surrounded by lawn at the same elevation or nearly so. It's just elevated an inch or 2 above the ground. And that's about it. That's all there is to report on that one.
All right. Can I go back to Terry for a minute? Other than the difference in elevation, which Steve just commented on, it doesn't seem to be a significant deviation. And the lack of 14 or so shrubs. Mm-hmm. Other than that, would you say that the construction of the sport court is in substantial compliance with the order of conditions?
Yes, I would. I think I stated it in my letter with the exceptions, but I'm not sure the wording I used.
No, you did. The wording is appropriate. That question was for the benefit of the public.
Okay, thank you. Yes, I would say it's been built in substantial compliance. And again, some of those shrubs seem to have not taken, especially the high bush blueberry. They might have been just too far up from the wetland to not keep their feet wet.
That's my guess.
Sure.
To the extent that there is a deviation from the original plan, it seems like there's an easy fix. And that would be to, could you have the applicant replant? And I know nobody's going to wait another two growing seasons, but I think it would be helpful to us if somebody were to plant, when I say somebody, either I don't know where the process of the sale is, but I think it would be appropriate to plant the 14 shrubs or their equivalent. As a matter of fact, you could go to an equivalent. We have a 6-to-1 ratio of shrubs to 2 trees so that and it might be appropriate to plant a couple of 2 trees on the site as well. And I don't know how other people feel about that, but if that was the original intent, it seems like it's an easy fix.
And Terry, I would say 3-inch caliper for the trees. At
Red,
least.
red maples, maybe?
That'd be perfect for this site. It looks like it's either irrigated heavily or the surface of the ground is quite wet most of the time there. So the red maples would fit perfectly.
Okay, I know they're closing in about 10 days, so I'll have to get word to them through their attorney. They're already out in Philadelphia, but I think they must still have some contact in the area.
And there's plenty of room to plant the red maples as well on the site.
But Steve, couldn't they also, I was gonna say, couldn't they put money into the tree bank or something and replant somewhere else too?
Oh, yes, or both, right, yes.
Maybe we should explain it to them, because if they're gonna close that quick, they probably can't get someone to do the work that quick. They could just give the check.
Yes, absolutely. John, are you okay with that?
Yes, I am.
I have a question if I may. Were those 14 shrubs planted at the original, at the time all the other ones were?
If you can scroll up a little bit, Steve, you can see the 2 columns we put on the plan. And basically I have a 2012 quantity and a 2021 quantity, which is what's out there now. The upper number, we had everything in the ground in 2012, which was a little shy of the period that you would have wanted to basically track the plantings. And if I go through, basically, again, most of the ones that have gone to the high bush blueberry,
right?
You know, the others, when I look down the line, there are actually, again, 4 winterberry and a couple of arrowwood and a couple of serviceberry that are missing. But it's mostly the high bush blueberry that are gone.
Okay, so
they were, everything was there in 2012.
Okay.
So they did everything they were supposed to.
So yes, this is what I'm getting at. If they
I
were
agree with you.
If they were in compliance in 2012, and this certificate of compliance is nunc pro tunc back to 2012, then, I mean, in the interest of fundamental fairness, do they have to do it again? If every homeowner we give a list of plantings to, if in 3 or 4 or 5 years they don't take, we don't require them to go back and redo it, do we?
Jerry, that's a very fair question, and there is a very specific answer to that. Under the performance standards, under the regulations for DEP, you have 2 growing seasons to have I believe it's a 75% has to take.
That's exactly correct.
And in this case, it's something like a 62%. And Jerry, I went through the same, I had the same question that you did, but you know, that's why we took the pencil out and did the percentages, and they did not make the 75%. So the regulation under the statute allows you 2 growing seasons to achieve 75%, and it didn't take. So it would be exactly the same performance standard that we apply to everybody.
Okay.
My question though is along the lines of Jerry, John, and that is, what if they did take in the 2 growing seasons and they were infested or something happened?
Or the deer ate them.
Yeah, in growing seasons 5 to 8, because we're dealing with a 9-year out period here. And a lot could take place.
I guess that goes to a fair question, but it goes to, you know, why applicants should issue or request a certificate of compliance much earlier in the process. We had the same issue at Lowe's Circle when years and years and years went by, probably 20 years, and people were coming in and we were trying to reconstruct history going back 20 years. It's impossible to do that.
Appreciate that explanation.
Yes, thank you, John.
So 2 trees, John, would be 2 times $500, $1,000, for example.
they'd be better off doing that than trying to get someone to plant them and trying to
Yep.
close.
I agree.
Yeah, no, I agree as well. Although if they wanted to plant the trees, and if it were a money issue and they thought they could do better by planting the trees, I certainly would take them at their word that either they or the new homeowner would plant them. But either way, whatever's the most convenient and practical way to approach this, I think is appropriate. So that's would that be acceptable, Terry, to the applicant?
Yes, I think it would. I think so. I can certainly reach out to them first thing tomorrow. I know that they're still maintaining the home up till the closing. I think maybe getting 2 trees in the ground and taking some pictures are fine. I know in some instances, there's been an ongoing condition left in some of the ones we've seen where, maybe 2 years down the road, something just needs to be provided in terms of a report to the commission that those 2 trees are still there and thriving.
You're 100% correct. And
I mean,
some
the
of
other,
that falls to us.
but the other option is they can write a check and not have to plant the trees too.
Yeah.
Which would make it probably easier for them than trying to get someone to do that back quick.
Probably.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know which option they'd go to, but I know either one I think would be acceptable at this point.
All right, well, I understand the need. So I guess it's a third option, and that is, upon their representation that they would get it done, even if it took longer than 10 days to plant the trees. That would certainly be acceptable to me as well. So, any other questions or comments from commissioners? Are there any abutters or members of the public that have a question or would like to make a comment or a point? Hearing none, is there a motion to issue the certificate of compliance conditioned upon either the planting of 2 trees either within the 10 days or a promise to do so soon thereafter, or to make a commensurate contribution to the virtual fund of $1,000, which would represent 2 $500 trees. And for the public's benefit, the 500 comes from an approximate value of a 3-inch caliber tree of $300 to $350 and an approximate planting cost of somewhere between $150 to $200. So the average comes out to about $500 per tree. And that's the basis for calculating that $500 per tree times 2 would be 1,000. Is there such a motion?
Moved accordingly, Mr. Chairman.
All right. Thank you, Arthur. Is there a second?
Todd.
All right, Todd, thank you very much. Is there any discussion from the commission members? Hearing none, all in favor, I'll do a roll call vote. Ingrid, how do you vote?
Yes.
Jerry, how do you vote?
Yes.
Todd, how do you vote?
Yes.
Arthur, your
Yes.
vote, sir? Wendy, your vote? Wendy, are you still with us? She may be on mute.
Yes, I'm sorry. I was on mute by accident.
Okay. Was that a yes?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. And mine is a yes too, John Kiernan. That's unanimous. So the certificate of compliance will issue with that condition.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
All right.
I will
Thank you.
coordinate with Steve regarding this. Thank you again.
That's perfect. Thank you very much.
Nice preparation. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
Yep, good night.
Now, number 7 on the list is the enforcement order at 882 Cliff Road. I did communicate with Robbie earlier today because he had asked why he was on the agenda when he thought we had kind of a plan in action. And I communicated to him that he did not need to be here tonight because I had talked to, as the commission members know and the public knows, that we had an on-site public meeting visit with Robbie and his wife at their home at 82 Cliff, and we came up with a plan of action. The problem with the plan of action, it does require a professional engineer or draftsman to give us a plan. So in concept, we know what the remediation plan is going to be, but we do require a professional stamped plan to approve. And through the good graces of Steve and the good graces of David Armstrong, who is he a landscape architect?
No, actually, professional engineer. He's an engineer.
He's a professional engineer. And he did agree to do such a plan. The problem is he's been busy and he didn't get to it. But he did promise that he will get to it. So we will have the plan, which will essentially solidify and confirm and verify the concept plan that we have for remediation at 82 Cliff. So I suggested that we put it on for next month just to see whether or not we can get that plan. But that's really something out of the homeowner's hands. It's in the hands of Mr. Armstrong, the professional engineer, and I have full faith and confidence that he will produce that for our benefit, at which point we can address it in a formal setting at our next public meeting.
John,
yes, sir.
Without returning to the site specifically, is this something that could be a matter of business on the 1023 sidewalk?
I don't know, Steve, you know Mr. Armstrong better than I, but could he do it that fast?
I don't know the answer to the question, Arthur.
You want to give them those 2 dates and see which one they can meet?
Why don't we do that? That would be great.
Great, thank you.
Yep.
Arthur, the 2 date, good idea. The 2 dates being the 23rd sidewalk as opposed to the November regular meeting.
Right, so they have 2 options. If they can make the 23rd, fine. If they can't make the 23rd, they have a fallback in November.
And that's November 9 for the group, by the way, November 9.
All right, that makes good sense. That's good practical sense, Arthur. Thank you.
Yep.
All right. So that would be the final business agenda point, and we go now to additional business. Steve, do you have additional business?
Yes. You remember that when we were out on site at 1062 Canton Ave, let me share the screen here. And we were looking for an additional plan that shows some details. For example, I think it was Hans wanted to know the first floor elevations and wanted to look at grading around the proposed home and garage. Those are in. He shows us where the Balster Brook is. There's no classification of the brook on the plan, which is what we also asked for. And was there anything else, John, on that plan that was requested?
No, I think it was just the elevations where the house is going and the brook.
Exactly. And we've got a limit of work as well here. It's shown in a line there. So I just wanted to let the public and the commissioners know that we received that plan. The next thing is, I will stop the sharing here, is a letter we received from National Grid. And I did speak to...
Steve, Arthur, do we need to take any action on the previous plan, or that was just an information request, supplemental information, right?
That is correct. In fact, we needed that plan before we could issue the order of conditions.
Correct. Thank you.
Okay.
But we did have the vote though, Arthur.
Yes, we sure did.
Yes, on site.
Yep. Thanks. Back to the National Grid letter from Drew Shelby. This is dated a month ago tomorrow. And Boston Gas is going to go in to the Take Station Access Road. And roadway maintenance will involve vegetation trimming along the access road and the repair of ruts and potholes in the gravel access roadway. I spoke to Drew just a couple of hours ago, and he told me that no herbicides are involved, just mechanical cutting. And I said, thank you so much, sir. And I had noted that when I was out there the last time, sometime early this summer, that it needed some work on the sides. They hope to bring in a heater for one of those buildings there. And they need a 40-foot trailer in order to do it, evidently. That's why they're working on it. They will come to us again for a permit, I believe, to install that heater. Number 3 is I should inform you that Erica D. Donato and myself, she's the environmental coordinator of the town, were out last week behind the Collicock School. And,
Collicott.
Sorry?
Collicott.
Collicock, sorry. It identifies me as an out-of-towner again.
I went to that school, Steve. Be careful.
Okay.
We still love you, Steve.
So noted. In any case, we went down and evidently this the open space behind the school, parallel to Pleasant Street, is being looked at by a consultant. I believe the consultant is the woman-owned, the same folks who are doing Algerine Connor. Jerry, who are the people? The engineers? The woman engineer? I'm sorry.
The town engineer.
No, the town engineers plus the consultants are the consulting company, the woman-owned consulting company, Judith Niche Engineering.
Okay.
In any case, they're looking at that area, and the question was asked, Steve, is there a wetland in that area? And yes, there is a locally jurisdictional wetland. You know what one of them is because we found one behind 600 Canton Ave. You may remember that. There's one there pretty close to the bottom of the slope there.
On the
right
left-hand side going down toward Pleasant Street?
Well, if you're going down toward Pleasant Street, it's actually on the right-hand side. Oh, wait a second. Left-hand side of the rightmost or easternmost pathway. Yes, that's correct.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, right there. There's a small wetland.
Been there for a long time.
Yes, it sure has. And there's some good sized trees growing in and near and around it. There's a lot of spice bush inside it. Red maples and Norway maples on the upslope. In any case, I characterized a wetland area there. And the DPW is looking for someone with surveying equipment to get in there and survey the flags in. And then they'll do a little bit more on the feasibility study for doing a little basin to take a lot of the total suspended solids off of the area around the school. There's evidently they're planning, they think that they've modeled, they should be taking 14,000 pounds of TSS off per year from that neighborhood, which I thought was a huge amount. So my first question was, well, how are you going to get in there to get it out every year? So they've got to work with that question, I guess. Number 4 and last for me is the Milton site yard. You will all be very interested to hear that Town Tree has done a wonderful job at extending the berm, as we talked about last month. Greg Hockmuth and I took a look at it, and we noticed that the water was moving around the berm of wood chips at the top of the slope. So they extended the berm, and they did a wonderful job with that. So we're not getting any more erosion down the slope. And they've also been doing an excellent job removing all the black locust seedlings on the entire slope. There were literally hundreds of them there. And I've got to give Town Tree some real good kudos because they've taken them all out. I found one seedling on the berm and that was it. That's all I found. So they've been doing an excellent job. Kudos to Town Tree.
This is the Gun Hill.
Yes.
Is this Gun Hill property, Steve?
Yes, it is, Jerry.
Have they planted any trees?
Not yet. Not yet. And I didn't have a chance to chat with Greg as to what his schedule was. He was going to put some flags in, and so I could see where he wanted to plant things. Trees and shrubs. More shrubs than trees, Jerry, as far as I know.
Well, shouldn't it replicate the area to the right of that, as you look down at the slope, that they pretty much denuded that whole area? And shouldn't they be, bringing it back to its original state that's similar to that entire area?
Yes. However, realize that there are a lot of trees that provide lots of seeds in that area. And the trees that actually seed in will be a lot healthier than anything you can plant, in my opinion.
Well,
but yes, the answer is yes over the long term.
Jerry, that would be part of the final plan as well. I mean, we haven't even seen that yet.
Yeah. Well, if there's erosion now, then they should be planting. That's all I'm saying.
Sure.
And trees should be included.
Agreed.
Are there temporary erosion controls there, Steve?
Oh, absolutely.
I have not been there.
The entire slope is not only jute matted, but it's got a grass mix down. So the slope is very well stabilized. I will say that the bottom of the slope to the forest looks like they got into the, a soil horizon, and there's not a lot of organics on top, and that's not growing as well as the slope. The slope is all organics. It's growing like crazy. That grass is very happy there. Green grass. It's really, really happy. Oh, and there's another thing we noted. I'm not sure if I told you this last month. Oh, we noted that water from the surface area of the yard itself was moving through the wood chips and out at the top of the slope. So Greg and I spoke about putting in some more wetter species of shrubs, such as the what you call black olive, alder, or speckled alder, the Alnus rugosa, at the top, which will grow very fast, by the way. We spoke about that when we were last out there, which was, I think, just before the last meeting in September.
All right. Do we have an estimated time of coming back to us with a plan?
Don't know.
Landscape plan?
Don't know, but I will give Greg a call.
Okay.
Let you all know.
All right, fair enough. We may be mixing, or not we, but Jerry, I know you voiced some concerns about what's going to go there eventually. So we might be mixing temporary erosion controls with, a permanent planting plan. Right. But it is an appropriate topic for discussion. So maybe, Steve, if you could just do a little scouting and reconnoitering and find out when we're going to get that.
Sure. Be happy to.
All right, great. Any other issues of additional business? No? All right. I just have one thing that I just want to alert you to. It's a matter of some public discussion. So the Conservation Commission should be aware of it. And that is that in 2014, there was a proposal that was agreed to in concept between the Park Department and the Conservation Commission. And that had to do with land. If you're on Guile Road at the high school and you're on the Guile Road portion that goes down the hill towards Blue Hills Parkway, the land on the left is deeded to the Conservation Commission, and it's upland, primarily upland. There is a little bit of wetland down closer to Blue Hills Parkway. The land on the right is deeded to the Park Department, and that goes all the way down to Pine Tree Brook, which is really, really wet and a very important resource area. So the concept was that if we could flip the land, then the Park Department was intent upon creating a soccer field. Now that soccer field was right next to Home Inc. There was discussion about keeping a 50-foot buffer zone. But for some reason, we never did the swap. Apparently there was some objections from Home Inc. And it sort of died on the vine. But there had been significant discussion about a land swap. And what I noticed about the deed at the time was that it was for environmental purposes. The land was deeded from the Lamb sisters to the town, specifically to the Conservation Commission, and to protect the land for environmental and recreational purposes. So at the time, again, this is just in concept, but the Conservation Commission agreed that this would fulfill the recreation component of our obligation. The only hangup that we saw at the time was that, for reasons that I can't explain, the deed actually required that HUD, the Federal Housing and Urban Development, sign off on any change of use, including recreational use. But again, it didn't go anywhere. Most recently, this past year, the School Building Committee has been looking at the land and inquired as to whether or not the Conservation Commission would be interested in a similar swap to get, the land closer to the Pine Tree Brook area for us. And I indicated that, well, we've agreed to it in the past, but what I wasn't looking at was that there are other parts of the deed. And in August, and again in September, Ann Sheffield, who is the daughter of Bob Sheffield, who many of us will remember Bob as a distinguished gentleman and lawyer in town, and he was also representing Home Inc. I think he was on the board of directors there as well. And Bob passed away recently, and his daughter is taking up the cause, and she actually pointed out that the deed from the Lamb sisters actually says that there shall be no buildings erected on this land, which would put up an obstacle for the School Building Committee in terms of site selection. This is just informational. I'm just telling you that there has been discussion about the land. We do own the land. Again, it's town land, but it happens to be deeded to the Conservation Commission. But I'm sure there'll be further discussion about this because it is an area of land that's important to the town. It came up actually in the Ice House development discussion, and it's certainly part of the discussion by the Master Plan Committee and also the School Building Committee. So it is something that will be on our radar screen probably within the next 3 months or so. Just informational. There's nothing to be done about it. I just want you to be up to speed. Okay.
And John, there is one other thing. I believe I sent copies to the commission, but 107, 111 Hillside has been, there's been a challenge and appeal to both of our decisions on those properties.
Correct.
Okay, so you should just be aware of that.
That goes to DEP.
Which addresses?
107, 111.
What street?
Hillside. Yes.
Highland Street.
I'm sorry.
Highland
That's
Street.
the hospital property, and we didn't consider a project. We just did the RDA and the resource area delineation.
Right. Forgive me. Yep.
And I think the issue is whether or not there's a drainage system that may be conveying water beneath the surface that we're not aware of. I'm not speaking for the applicant or the appellant, but I believe that's the issue. But that'll be in the hands of DEP at this juncture.
Right.
Okay. Any other?
Yeah, John. Is there some way to get so nobody can get a building permit like most towns? So they have to go through each department to get a sign-off sheet? Because we go over the same thing over and over with homeowners like this deck tonight. If she had known this, it would have been bounced to us long before they got the building permit, and to make it easier for the homeowners.
I agree. I don't know what the sequence was, and I don't know when she filed the RDA. The only difficulty that I had with the application was the fact that we didn't have a plan with it.
What I'm saying though is the building department issued a permit. He shouldn't be able to issue a permit until each department has signed off. Meaning DPW, conservation. When I've built developments all over the state, everywhere else I go except for Milton, you cannot get a building permit. I don't care if it's Bridgewater, Easton, I've done Dover, I've done Westwood. You have to go to each department and they have to sign off on the sign-off sheet that gets turned in with your application for your building permit. It saves everybody a lot of headaches. Saves us and the people.
Yes, no, I appreciate what you're saying, and I think there's been much better communication between DPW, Building Department, Conservation Commission, since the advent of Kathy Bowen, because she works there, and it really helps the communication. That a lot of our permitting and the application process is through DPWs. That's helped us a lot. And I agree that we could do a much better job getting.
Yeah, it's just one piece of paper. When they go to do the application for the building permit, they get a sign-off sheet at the same time.
The only problem with it is it's a little bit like the chicken and the egg, and that is the building department itself may end up changing the plan. Say you
That's
can't do it
correct.
this way, you have to do it that way, which is going to delay them coming to us because we won't have a final plan until the building department has a final plan.
Yeah, but what usually they do, John, is they approve the plan. They come to conservation with the proposed plan. If the building inspector has any changes, they come back. But what's happened is she's got a permit to build a deck. She shouldn't have a permit.
I understand. So I think we're both right. I'm worried about the sequencing because you can't come to the Conservation Commission and say, can we build this plan if they don't have a plan? But I do agree with you that maybe the final sign-off should not be given until such time as the other boards have weighed in.
Yeah, it would just make it a lot easier. Yeah, it just make it a lot. Most towns do it this way. It just makes it easier for everybody involved. Makes it easier. Look at people get building permits by mistake. They go do something they don't even know they're doing wrong, and now they're in our hands.
Todd, I agree with you 1,000%.
Yeah, it's all the towns I go to, John. That's how they do it. There's a big sign-off sheet. You actually have to have the assessor sign off so their taxes are paid. Everywhere I go, it just makes it's a checklist. You go with it, you're done. They can't get out of control that way for the town or for the homeowners or the landowners or whoever they are.
Agreed entirely, John. This may be a policy issue for the select board to talk with them about. Arthur, you might want to listen very carefully about this. In most of the towns that I deal with, that happens as well. Very well. Usually it works very, very well.
I mean, John, I've done 350 houses, and most out of that 350, I'd say 349 of them all have those sign-off sheets. It keeps me out of trouble, and it keeps homeowners, and it keeps everybody aware of what's going on. So one department has to know what the other department's doing because everybody has to sign that. Every department has to sign that form. Everybody, so nobody can be out of the loop.
Okay, so what you're suggesting, if I'm hearing you correctly, is that like in the instance of a building permit, that the permit doesn't issue.
Yes, he cannot issue the permit until we sign saying we're okay with it.
Correct, but the building department still has to vet the plan and give a final approval pending our approval.
Yes, he can review it, he can do things, but he cannot issue until everybody signs off.
Okay, and that's fine, but it goes back to the ice house as a perfect example, because they were modifying their plan before they had filed simultaneously.
Mm-hmm.
But they would delay our hearings pending a zoning board change. So
Correct.
A lot of the changes, so we were looking at a moving target. So obviously everybody knew that the Conservation Commission would have to sign off before the project could go forward. But at least we had the final vetted plan from the ZBA before we took our vote.
John, it works in other
That's the
towns.
same point.
It works everywhere we go, John.
There's a process, Todd has just mentioned, there's a process that works in other towns.
I'd say 30 towns that I've done, they all do the same form.
I'm agreeing with you. We must have miscommunicated here. I agree with you, Jerry. I agree with you, Todd. I'm just suggesting that until we have a plan, we can't vote on anything.
No, no, you're correct, John. You're absolutely correct. What usually happens is we go through, conservation goes through the order of conditions, whatever. If it's a situation that the planning board, the conservation and the building department are both kind of hitting the same time, the order of conditions always says, if there's any modifications from any department, then you have to come back and see us. If there's any modification to any of the plans. We're protected. Yeah, we're protected, they're protected.
I'm agreeing with you.
I just see too many people. I've just seen too many people in this town get themselves in trouble. Or Prondak, not even his fault, a permit gets issued. The heck, he doesn't know what's wetlands and he can't keep track of everything. Permits out, the people are working, and the next thing you know, we're after them and they're mad at us, and it's really not our fault because there's no way for them to know what they have to do.
Todd, what are you asking for an action on this subject by the Conservation Commission?
I guess more the town. I guess like Jerry mentioned, or was it Steve, that we should have maybe the selectman or town manager just get the form like the other towns use, so we have a sign off so everybody in every department knows what's going on.
I heard that and I understand clearly. Thank you. I just want to be focused on the Conservation Commission per se, and ask if you are asking that the Conservation Commission formally recommend that if the Concom has to sign off prior to the issuance of a building permit.
Yes.
Okay. I was just trying to clarify the discussion a bit.
What I meant by it is, water department, DPW, that's what's always on the forms that we get.
Correct.
So everybody knows what's going on through the entire town departments. So there's no mix up anywhere.
Right. But we can't speak for those other departments.
I understand that. I was just bringing up the sign-off sheet would just make it so much easier. Like the girl with the deck tonight, that would have been headed off way before tonight.
Yeah, we've seen it before too. Not too thankfully.
I'm just saying to make it easier for us and the homeowners. That's all. That's the only reason I brought it up.
Oh, it's a good point. It's a good point. Arthur, maybe before making an official request to the select board, we actually request some kind of a sit down, get together with Mike Dennehy and Joe Prondak and figure out how can this be done and what would be the best form for a proposal. Do you think that would be a good idea to sit down?
Always makes sense to talk around the table about it as a first step.
I think, and then we could actually formalize the request. It all makes sense.
I think I'd want Todd at the table.
I'd go if you want me to go.
Yeah.
And I get you a copy. I could probably get you a couple of copies of sign-off sheets that I've had to use in other towns, which I like it because I know what my direction is and what I'm supposed to do and make everybody happy. And I just go do what I got to do and everybody gets the work done.
How about we have a subcommittee and Arthur, you can wear two hats, you and Todd, and then you sit down with, ask for a sit down rather, with Mike Dennehy and Joe Prondak and Chase Berkeley.
All right, Mr. Chair, on that advice, I will contact the town administrator and make that request on behalf of the Conservation Commission. Is that clear?
Perfect. Sounds perfect to me.
Good, okay.
And Todd, you're willing to be on that subcommittee, yes?
Yep, I'll go to whatever meetings we have to go to.
Perfect. All right.
Okay, thank you.
And Jerry, I know you felt strongly about it. If you want to participate in the subcommittee.
Yeah, Jerry, why don't you join in?
Yes.
we won't have a quorum, so there won't be four of us, so it's fair.
Correct. That's correct. All right, we have our subcommittee. Thank you.
Yay, thanks, guys.
All right.
All righty.
All right. With that, I don't think there's any more additional business unless somebody speaks otherwise. Hearing nothing, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
That's seconded. All right, buddy. All right. We all vote aye, right?
Aye.
Bye. Yes.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Good night.
all.
Thank
night,
you,
all.
everyone.